Hello, in this video, we're focusing on the practical concepts that you can actually apply in the real business world. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get on with it. Today, we'll explore why European football clubs are evolving beyond just sports teams to become diversified global media entertainment conglomerates. This shift is driven by the need to strengthen their financial stability and expand their reach beyond traditional football audiences. The logos displayed represent some of the most prominent clubs embracing this transformation, leveraging their strong brand identities to create new revenue streams. The image of growing stacks of coins symbolizes the financial benefits and investments involved in this process, highlighting how clubs are strategically positioning themselves to capitalize on media, broadcasting, and entertainment opportunities across the world. This approach not only boosts their income, but also helps them connect with fans on multiple platforms, ensuring long-term growth and sustainability in a competitive market. On a packed match day at famous stadiums like the Bernabeu or Old Trafford, it might seem like football's heartbeat is right there on the pitch, driven by ticket sales and broadcast moments. But that's no longer the full story. The real competition is about media rights, intellectual property, and capturing global attention. Top European clubs are shifting away from the traditional model, not because they are chasing trends, but because the old ways no longer provide stable income. Stadiums have limited capacity, so earnings on match days can't grow much. Domestic leagues are generating less incremental value, and success on the field can be unpredictable. All these factors push clubs to find new, diversified financial streams beyond just the game itself. For many years, the financial model behind football was straightforward and relied heavily on four key elements. First, teams needed to win matches to attract attention and build loyalty. That success helped fill stadiums with fans eager to watch live. These packed arenas then made broadcast rights more valuable, with networks paying to air games to large audiences. Finally, sponsorship deals were monetized, leveraging the club's visibility and fan base. While this approach worked well throughout the 20th century, it's becoming clear that it has structural limitations in today's changing sports and entertainment landscape, where the traditional levers are no longer enough to sustain growth and profitability. Matchday revenue has a natural limit because stadiums can only hold so many people, and expanding those venues requires a lot of money and involves complex political issues. Meanwhile, clubs depend heavily on domestic league and Champions League broadcast income, which they don't fully control and can be affected by changes in regulations or market conditions. At the same time, wages for players and transfer fees keep rising almost in direct proportion to the club's income, squeezing profit margins and making cash flow unstable. Then there's the unpredictability of on-field performance. Success isn't guaranteed, and that creates financial instability that institutional investors find hard to accept. So, even though football clubs make huge amounts of money, these structural issues make them risky investments for more conservative capital. The true value for elite football clubs goes beyond just the players on the pitch. The key asset is the intellectual property tied to their global fan bases. This includes club brands that have existed for generations, iconic logos and designs, and rich storylines filled with rivalries and history that fans connect with deeply. These narratives create ongoing content that transcends geography and time zones, giving clubs direct emotional access to hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Importantly, this kind of intellectual property grows in value independently of whether the team wins or loses in the short term. Even if a club finishes third instead of first, it still generates content through social media, lifestyle partnerships, documentaries, esports, and interactive platforms. This makes football uniquely positioned to benefit from the broader media ecosystem, focusing on content and engagement rather than only competition results. European football clubs are evolving beyond just being teams that play matches. They now function as content studios with dedicated production teams that create everything from documentary series to player-focused stories. These clubs continuously engage their audience through digital publishing, building a direct connection with fans all year round. By owning this content themselves instead of licensing it from others, they avoid middlemen and keep the full value of their intellectual property over time. This shift allows clubs to leverage their brand and storytelling in new ways, turning their historical and cultural significance into valuable media assets. The move to direct-to-consumer distribution represents a major strategic change. Clubs are now creating their own apps and subscription platforms, which allow fans to stream pre-season tours and academy matches that weren't previously accessible. Instead of relying on traditional season tickets and limited stadium capacity, they are building global membership ecosystems that engage fans wherever they are. This shift enables clubs to bypass traditional broadcasters and rights holders, giving them control over their content and creating more predictable, recurring revenue streams. In other words, clubs are transforming themselves from just teams into comprehensive entertainment brands with ongoing direct relationships to their fan base. Once content is created and owned, it opens multiple doors for syndication across various platforms. Football clubs now distribute their content not just through traditional channels, but also across streaming services, social networks, and brand partnerships. This extends even further into new arenas like gaming, the metaverse, and virtual experiences, where fans interact with their favorite clubs in entirely new ways. The goal is to move beyond just the match itself and create a continuous engagement loop, keeping fans connected and involved year-round. This approach leverages the intellectual property we've discussed and transforms it into dynamic, multi-platform experiences that generate sustained value for clubs and their global audiences. Real Madrid has redefined what it means to be a football club by positioning itself as a premium lifestyle brand rather than just a sports team. Its global reach extends far beyond match days, leveraging a strong digital presence and international academies to build a worldwide community of fans. The club focuses heavily on content creation and partnerships, turning its media output into a major revenue source that exceeds traditional ticket sales. Even the renovation of their stadium reflects this strategy. It's designed not only for football matches, but as a versatile venue for hosting events and producing diverse types of content. This multi-dimensional approach allows Real Madrid to capitalize on its brand and intellectual property in ways that generate sustained income well beyond what the stadium alone could offer. City Football Group demonstrates how vertical integration works in practice by owning a global network of clubs, which allows them to centralize key functions like data analytics, scouting, and content production. This centralized approach not only supports the clubs on the field, but also drives a powerful media and brand strategy across different markets. Their model ensures that the brand and content ecosystem continues to thrive regardless of individual team performance, showing how sports success and the media business can operate both collaboratively and independently within the same organization. This strategic integration amplifies the brand globally while maximizing opportunities for growth and engagement. FC Barcelona provides a clear example of both the strength and risks involved in monetizing intellectual property when under financial pressure. To manage short-term cash flow issues, they've sold rights to future media revenues and creative assets, using their IP as a financial lever. While this approach brings immediate relief, it also exposes the club to potential long-term challenges by shifting their focus toward being a media-first organization without strong capital discipline. On the other hand, Manchester United shows a different dynamic where the club's valuation remains strong, largely because investors view it more as a global media brand than just a sports team. This means that even if the team's performance on the field is inconsistent, its financial value is supported by its reach and recognition in the media landscape worldwide. Together, these examples illustrate how the transformation we've discussed affects clubs in very tangible ways, highlighting the balance between opportunity and caution in this evolving sports media business model. Institutional investors look for reliable cash flow, steady long-term asset growth, and the ability to scale revenue without costs rising at the same pace. Media entertainment conglomerates meet these needs well, because once content is created, it can be monetized repeatedly without extra production costs. Fans behave more like subscribers who engage continuously rather than one-time customers, which leads to more predictable income. Distribution costs become minimal since digital platforms allow for near zero marginal expenses, plus the intellectual property involved tends to increase in value over time. On the other hand, relying on football performance alone can cause unpredictable income swings, which is risky and often unacceptable for pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and other long-term investment vehicles looking for stability. For CEOs and founders, the shift means thinking of customers as ongoing participants in your brand story instead of one-time buyers. It's important to focus on building your own direct distribution channels before jumping to monetization. This lets you control the narrative, the data, and the creative content you produce. Investors, meanwhile, should look beyond short-term earnings and focus on the value of intellectual property, how actively fans engage, and the flexibility brands have across different platforms. They need to assess content ownership carefully rather than just relying on revenue multiples. For media and entertainment companies, the landscape is changing. Football clubs aren't just suppliers of content anymore, they're competitors in the space. This shift highlights the need to rethink strategies across multiple industries by applying these lessons from the sports world to broader business challenges. To successfully execute this transformation, clubs need to focus on building internal capabilities by creating their own teams specializing in creativity, data, and media, which helps reduce dependence on external agencies. They should unify audience data from ticketing, digital platforms, commerce, and social channels into a single coherent fan intelligence system to understand their supporters better. Controlling platforms is also crucial. Developing proprietary apps and channels ensures clubs manage access and pricing directly. Additionally, adopting a global content strategy that tailors storytelling for specific markets rather than relying on generic global campaigns enables stronger local connections. Finally, treating players not just as athletes, but as intellectual property assets allows clubs to allocate capital strategically, balancing media opportunities with the risk of depending too heavily on individual personalities. This approach creates a more sustainable and scalable model for growth. By adopting the conglomerate model, clubs unlock the ability to scale revenue without being tied to the size of their stadium, which breaks the traditional limitation of matchday earnings. This approach also reduces their reliance on broadcast deals, which can be unpredictable and heavily negotiated. Instead, they can reach global markets directly, even without a physical presence in every region, expanding their fan base and commercial opportunities worldwide. Institutional investors value this model because it typically results in higher valuation multiples, reflecting more stable and predictable long-term growth. Another key advantage is its resilience. Even if the team experiences short-term sporting setbacks, the diversified revenue streams help stabilize the business and protect it from sudden drops in performance-related income. This combination of scalable revenue, global reach, and financial stability makes the conglomerate model a strong and adaptive strategy. There are several significant challenges and risks that come with this transformation. Fans may react negatively if they feel the club is being treated as a commodity rather than a community, which can harm loyalty and engagement. Additionally, the club's unique cultural identity might be diluted as commercial interests grow. Decisions driven too heavily by financial factors rather than sporting values can alienate core supporters and affect team performance. The model also depends heavily on constantly producing relevant and engaging content to maintain audience interest, which can be difficult to sustain. On top of that, governance becomes more complex, increasing the risk of mismanagement or poor execution. This transformation demands strong, disciplined leadership because mishandling it can quickly damage trust, potentially causing more harm than the value it aims to create. European football clubs aren't turning their backs on the sport. Instead, they're changing how they think about it. The game itself is no longer the main product. It's the entrance into a larger global media environment that thrives on intellectual property, ongoing stories, and ways to keep fans engaged around the clock. itch of what draw people in, but it's the broader media and business operations that turn that passion into revenue. In today's world, attention is the most valuable resource, and football clubs find themselves competing not just with other teams, but with giants like Netflix, Disney, and YouTube for people's focus worldwide. Embrace this new model will attract lasting investment and build significant long-term value, while those that stick to the old ways will remain popular but financially vulnerable. The future of football is shaped every day through content creation, distribution, and engagement, not just in the 90 minutes on Sunday. If you found this video useful, there's plenty of more business and finance videos on the channel that you'll enjoy watching and get great practical value from. In the meantime, thanks for watching.